We've all imagined what the future will be like. How will it feel to achieve that dream? Or how will we deal with that challenge? But what if I told you that the way you imagine the future is completely wrong? In Stumbling on Happiness, Daniel Gilbert reveals the cognitive and emotional traps that prevent us from accurately predicting what will truly make us happy. Today, we'll explore these flaws and understand how they impact our search for happiness. First, we need to talk about imagination. The human brain is a master at creating future scenarios, but this power comes with a significant flaw. Our imagination is more powerful than reality. Gilbert points out that many experiences are more enjoyable when we only imagine them. And when we can easily picture something happening, our brain makes another mistake. It overestimates the likelihood that it will occur. This is one of the main reasons why we get frustrated with experiences we anticipated with such enthusiasm. The future we imagine rarely matches reality. For instance, that dream vacation, it may not be as incredible as you pictured. And that big problem that keeps you up at night, it probably won't be as terrible as you're imagining now. Another key factor in well-being is control. When we have control over our lives, our mental and emotional health tends to improve. However, Gilbert reveals that losing this control can be devastating, often worse than never having had it. We feel losses more intensely than we do gains, and the feeling of freedom, or the lack of it, has a deep impact on our emotions and well-being. And what about our memory? Unfortunately, it's not reliable. Contrary to what we might believe, our memory doesn't record experiences faithfully. The brain isn't a recording machine, but rather a tireless editor that rewrites our memories every time we access them. Each time you recall something, you're actually creating a new version of the story. Another point Gilbert highlights is the impact of comparisons. What makes us happy today may not have the same effect tomorrow because we're constantly comparing ourselves to what we see around us. End of the problem. We underestimate how much these comparisons will affect our perception of future happiness. When we project the future, we often use the comparisons we make today, failing to realize that in the future, circumstances and comparison standards will be completely different. When it comes to regret, we tend to regret what we didn't do more than what we did. Even when we make mistakes, the brain is very good at justifying these decisions, helping us move on. But when we don't act, that void is harder to fill. This happens because the unknown always seems more threatening, and the regret of something not done is harder to erase. Luckily, we have an internal system that helps us cope with negative emotions, the psychological immune system. It allows us to reinterpret painful experiences so that we can move forward. However, this system needs to be in balance. It must make us feel good enough to not be paralyzed, but uncomfortable enough to promote change when necessary. Extraordinary experiences have the greatest impact the first time we encounter them. Over time, their ability to amaze us diminishes. To avoid this habituation, we can either space these experiences out over time or seek variety. Interestingly, simply spacing them out can often be more effective than adding variety. And finally, we often reject the idea of learning from other people's emotional experiences. We believe we are unique and incomparable, but the truth is that human emotions follow patterns. Other people's experiences can be great guides for predicting how we'll feel in the future. The idea that I'm different often prevents us from avoiding emotional pitfalls that so many others have already faced. In Stumbling on Happiness, Daniel Gilbert shows us that we're more prone to error than we think. Our minds, despite their power, lead us into emotional traps when we try to predict the future, control our present, or remember the past. In the end, maybe the secret isn't about predicting what will make us happy, but about learning to live better in the present.